had gotten home from work about an hour earlier and was settled in for the night. I was sitting on my bed, watching TV, trying to relax while a storm rolled in outside. We almost never get loud thunderstorms where I live, so nights like this always make me feel a little on edge. The wind kept hitting the side of the house, and every few minutes, the thunder shook just enough to remind me how close it was. After a while, I heard something below me, somewhere downstairs, like a noise coming from one of the rooms. At first, I tried telling myself it was just the house creaking from the storm, but I still felt uneasy. I decided to get up and check anyway. I walked downstairs, looked around, and found nothing out of place. So I filled my water bottle in the kitchen and went back up to my room. I didn't think I had even been back upstairs for 5 minutes before I heard something again. This time, it wasn't a random creak. I knew exactly where the noise was the moment I heard it. It was the sound of one of my living room lamps falling over. It's strange to be that sure about such a specific noise, but that lamp had always been unsteady. It stood on a small end table, and I had bumped into it more times than I can count. Even then, as wobbly as it was, it had never fallen by itself, not once. I got out of bed again and walked down to the living room. The lamp was laying right in the middle of the room. I picked it up and put it back, but the whole thing felt wrong. The storm outside wasn't even strong enough to make the walls shake, so the lamp randomly falling didn't make sense to me. I kept trying to convince myself it had to be the storm, because what else could it be? But deep down, I already knew that wasn't true. Something else had to be going on. I checked around the bottom floor again. I didn't find anything strange, so eventually I went back upstairs. I turned the TV volume down so I could hear the storm better. Maybe it was stronger than I thought. Maybe it really was shaking the house more than I realized. I stayed up there listening for about 45 minutes, and that was when something changed. The rain suddenly sounded louder, not just outside, but almost like it was coming from inside the walls. It had a different echo to it. It didn't sound normal, and the more I listened, the more I knew there was something off. I opened my bedroom door and immediately heard it more clearly. The sound was definitely coming from downstairs. I walked down the steps, following the noise through the hall until I reached the area near the kitchen. At the very end of the hall was a small, awkward door that led to a storage closet. I knew that closet had a window inside, but I hadn't touched it in months. The closer I got to it, the louder the rain sounded, almost like the storm was inside the closet. My anxiety kicked in as I opened the closet door. The window was wide open. Rain was pouring in, hitting the window frame hard, and it had already built up a puddle on the old boxes below. It looked like it had been open for a while. I hadn't even been in this closet for at least 6 months, and I would never leave a window open like that, not even by accident. The sight of it immediately made my stomach sink. I shut the window fast, trying to block out the noise, then stepped back into the hall, staring into the rest of the house. I suddenly felt frozen, terrified, and completely unsure of what to do next. I realized my phone was still upstairs on my bed. I could either run up and grab it or go straight out the front door and get out of the house. I was so scared that thinking clearly felt impossible. Every small sound in the house felt louder than the storm itself. I moved as quietly as I could into the kitchen and grabbed my car keys from the counter. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped them. I started creeping back toward the front door, hoping that if someone was inside, they wouldn't hear me. I had barely made it halfway down the hallway when I heard footsteps, fast footsteps. They exploded across the upstairs hallway directly above me. Someone was up there. They were moving quickly toward the stairs. My entire body reacted at once. I sprinted to the front door, threw it open, and ran out into the storm without looking back. I could hear the footsteps getting closer to the bottom of the stairs as I ran, like they were coming down to grab me. The rain was hitting me hard, but I didn't stop. I got into my car, slammed the door, started the engine, and backed out of the driveway as fast as I could. Only once I was on the road did I finally take a breath. I used my car's hands-free system to call 911 so I wouldn't have to look down or try to grab my phone. When officers later checked the house, they didn't find anyone inside. No person, no tracks, no signs of a break-in on the outside windows or doors. But when they looked more closely, they noticed something that made everything make sense. The wall inside the storage closet, the one with the window lined up directly with the end table where the lamp sat. Whoever had opened that closet window must have pushed or hit the wall while trying to get inside, and those vibrations probably knocked over the lamp earlier in the night. The open window wasn't from the storm. It was from someone trying to get in. The officer said whoever entered must have found a place to hide upstairs, possibly in one of the rooms or closets, and they were likely waiting for the right moment. Maybe they planned to rob the place. Maybe they expected me to fall asleep. No one could say for sure. They didn't leave anything behind, and they didn't take anything either. But they were just gone. Even now, the thought of someone walking around my home while I was sitting upstairs watching TV still makes my skin crawl. I keep thinking about how close they were. How they were right outside my bedroom door at one point, without me even knowing. Nights like that make you realize how fast everything can go wrong, and how being alone at night during a thunderstorm can turn into something far worse than just bad weather. The house feels different now. Every once in a while, especially on stormy nights, I catch myself listening too closely. I'll hear a creak or wind against the siding, and I'll freeze for a second, wondering if it's really the storm this time. Sometimes when I walk down the hallway, that same feeling hits me again, the one where you suddenly feel like you're not actually alone, even when you know you should be. This is why nights like that stay with you forever. You don't forget something like this. You don't forget the sound of footsteps above you when you know no one else is home. And every time I hear the distant rumble of thunder, I am reminded of that night when I learned how easily a normal evening can turn into one of those creepy, true thunderstorm horror stories, especially when you're alone at night.